Hello and welcome to another episode of Kicking Healthy Relationships to the Curb. I am your host, Stephanie McPhail. My co-host, Steve Vaccaro, is unable to attend today, but I think we can handle it. I have a feeling we can do it. I'm actually really excited because we are coming to a close on Domestic Violence Awareness Month. And this show is really all about learning to be inspired so that we can actually learn to create our best lives and stop getting stuck in that cycle of toxic relationships. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring on our guest right away because I want to be able to take all of the time I possibly can for her to share her story and help inspire other people who might be stuck themselves. And definitely, if this resonates for you, we'd love the more conversation that you can have. Any questions that you have, make sure you go in the comments, write down questions, give some woohoos as Sherelle shares her story. Because again, the more support, and of course, share this with other people that might need it as well. Because the more that we talk about these kinds of big issues, the more that people are still in it, don't feel so alone. So let's bring Sherelle on. Welcome to the show, Sherelle. I am so happy to have you. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you for having me, Stephanie. It's a pleasure.
You're welcome. I know we got to talk a little while back, and I just remember hearing your story and having a tear come to my eye and just imagining what you went through. So do you mind sharing a little bit about what your story was with the audience?
Yes. Okay. So I am an intimate partner survivor of domestic violence, intimate partner violence survivor. And what that means is that I was abused by my significant other who we did not live together. So I was with her for about 18 years. And I would say probably like about maybe 16 of those years, I was abused. And it was a same sex relationship, which is why I wanted to be on the show today, because I believe that same sex domestic violence or intimate partner violence relationships are so underreported that it happens a lot more frequently than heterosexual domestic violence or intimate partner relationships. And once I was in that relationship, of course, it was a whirlwind. It was a good romance. It was something new, something different, and I already had a background with pain and trauma and things like that. So it really was a refreshing thing to, be in love and to trust again and everything like that. But eventually, after a while, I say about maybe 5 years into the relationship, it began to shift where, mental abuse started to take place where it would be a shot towards my physical appearance or what I would wear or things to just like tear me down emotionally. And once that process started to happen, then that's when the physical abuse started to happen. So essentially, I just have to say this if I could share that some people always ask the question, why did you stay or why did she stay? Why didn't you just leave? But the thing I want the audience and other people to realize is that every day with an abuser is not a bad day. There are days where they are really good lovers, they're really good people. They can actually be kind and they actually exhibit some things that you first fell in love with, where it wills you in to say, oh, this is the reason why I stayed, kind of like a little reminder. And then subsequently, then there goes that person again that you have to, get through, and you have to just deal with it. If I can just do this right, or if I just do this, maybe they'll stop. And that's where I stayed for so long, is because I thought that I had the power to change this person. But unfortunately, I didn't have the power to change a grown person. I didn't have power to change a person. The only time you had the power to change a person is when they are either a baby or an adult that's in diapers. Other than that, you can't change someone whose psyche is made up already, especially in its adult like stages. And I really believed that I could really change her. And I was so determined that I could change her that I stayed more years. And I didn't realize how complicated it would be to get out. And
Mhm.
remind you, as I said before, I was with her for 18 years. So the first 5 years of those 18 years, I wasn't being abused. But thereafter, I was. And it got more toxic and more intense. And more dangerous, so to speak.
Mhm. So what made it more dangerous? Like what was happening? And first of all, let me just say too, I 100% agree with you. I think that, and this was one of the reasons why I wanted to have you on the show as well. We
Mhm.
have not yet spoken to someone who has been outwardly talking about same-sex relationships that have abuse going on. And I know
Mhm.
statistically, if you look at the statistics, they are so much more underreported. I mean, domestic violence in general is underreported. And then when you look at same-sex partners or alternative lifestyles, we do not see the numbers that really should be representing the population. So I really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing your story and talking about what it's like to be in a unhealthy relationship that became abusive. And you're right. I mean, it's never always bad. It's never like starting out terrible. If they were terrible to you on the first day, you wouldn't keep dating them or spending time with them. And you spent a really long time with this person. So
Yeah.
how did things kind of progress? I mean, you said it took about 5 years for things to get really bad. Were you noticing anything before those 5 years, or was it like a light switch and all of a sudden things just got bad?
Well, prior to when she started abusing me, I started noticing like emotional cheating,
Mhm.
staying, at the computer too long, kind of like changing screens when I walk past so I wouldn't see. So that's when it initially started, with her like stepping out and everything like that.
Mhm.
So once I started seeing that, I started to become a little bit more aware of what she was doing. And I had a problem with it because who wants to be with someone who cheats on you and everything? And not to mention, I in our relationship in the first couple of years that we were together, I did cheat on her,
Mhm.
and I told her about it because I felt incredibly bad about it, and I never did it again. So when she cheated on me, I kind of felt like that was something I deserved because I did it first. And I kind of look at it as like a past, right?
Mhm.
But then after a while, it kept happening. And then I'm just like, okay, we if we're gonna be, in a relationship, it has to be about respect. You have to respect me. And I know that I did this and that, but I've apologized for it. I vowed to never do it again and everything, and I haven't. And I've been completely upfront and honest with you. But what you're doing is really hurting me. So so once that started to happen with the excessive cheating, I mean, it was ridiculous. I can't even count how many times I've been cheated on just by one person, by one
Mhm.
person. And once that started to happen, as that started to take place, I started to become a little conditioned that this is what she's going to do. It's nothing you can do about it. You just going to have to deal with it. And because I really wanted this relationship to work, and not to mention I had already came from trauma and everything and other horrific things that happened to me. So I really didn't. And this was a person that I opened my soul to, my heart to, and shared really sacred things. And I felt like she was the only person that understood me. So it was meaningful for me to savor the relationship however I can, because
Mhm.
I didn't want to look at myself as a failure if I left the relationship or if it didn't work. So I did whatever I could to just keep amends and everything. But after a while, I really started to notice it was really bothering me to be cheated on. It really was. It was bothering me so much. I mean, being dishonest, lying, uh, it, it's like she cheated on me so much that I knew that she was cheating on me before she actually started cheating on me. That's how I
Mhm.
could tell. So it did a lot to my self esteem. It made me feel like I wasn't beautiful. It made me feel like I wasn't desired. It really just made me feel like I wasn't anybody. And the more that I got lower and lower within my self esteem and everything, the gradually she felt like she had more power over me.
Mhm.
And I started to feel less and less of a person. I started to feel like that, common decency and consideration was too much of an ask. And how dare I even ask for something like that? But these are the things that is prohibited. These are the things that are a given. in a healthy relationship. You want to be in a healthy relationship, you have to be a healthy minded person. And I didn't realize that she wasn't a healthy minded person. And and then once that happened, and it just took a whole different turn. Then that's when the violence came, off and on, in regards to, her being pretty drunk sometimes. And it was really out of control to the point where we would fight in public. And that's when it got really dangerous. Excuse me, because if someone hits you in private where nobody sees, okay, that's a menace in itself. But when someone actually hurts you physically in public in front of everybody to see, that's when you really need to be afraid, because that means that that person has shown you and proved to you that they are not afraid of consequences. And that's dangerous, really dangerous.
So do you feel that drugs and alcohol were one of the big problems in the relationship?
Yes, yes. I will say that yes, it was. Yes, I believe that it was a high probability of that. But also, I had to take into the fact, because I used to say, well, she drinks a lot, things like that, and this is what contributes to you acting like this. So if you stop drinking, maybe perhaps, I can really see the person that you are. But come to find out, even when she wasn't under the influence of alcohol, she was a pretty mean person and just abusive. So then that's when I realized that it started to make sense to me. Okay, it's not just the alcohol. The alcohol actually brings out what's already in you. It brings it out. If you are me, for instance, when I drink alcohol, which I don't drink it much, but when I drink alcohol, I'm real giggly and funny and everything, and I just laugh at things that's not even funny. That's how I am. It comes out of me. But with her, she was just very angry, and it would come through the alcohol. And then when I realized when she wasn't drinking, that she was still mean and abusive verbally and everything, that's when I realized, like, oh, this is the actual person. This is, even though alcohol can bring it out of her more, but this is the actual person that I'm dealing with. And it took me, I say it actually took me the 18th year to realize that. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, alcohol, and they always say, alcohol or other drugs don't make the person behave that way. It brings out the person that's already there, that's just suppressed.
Yes.
And then the alcohol brings it out.
Yes, absolutely. I can attest to that. It's like now, since I've been in that situation, when I'm very apprehensive around people that drink. Not saying that, I'm not judgmental or anything like that. People who want to drink, okay, that's fine. Me, I'm not a heavy drinker at all. So when I see people drink, I observe their state. I observe how they are. Just how they are, because it's good. It's a good thing. If anything about this relationship, it has taught me to be aware of my surroundings. It's taught me to be aware of people, of when they're under the influence, or whether it's alcohol, drugs, weed, whatever the case may be. It helps me to be a little bit more prepared as far as watching my surroundings, because the littlest thing that you may talk yourself out of and say, oh, that's not a red flag. Oh, this person, they drink a little too much, and they push me when they drink or whatever or something. And you may just count that as like, oh, that's just when they're drunk. No, you need to pay attention to certain signs. First of all, like you said, alcohol or drugs bring out the person that's within, bring out the person that's suppressed. So if somebody is pushing you, or they're saying gnarly and nasty things to you while they're under the influence, it's not just the alcohol or that drug that they're under that's bringing it out. That's something that they actually feel about you, and that's a problem.
Yeah. So would you say, things to kind of take a step back again. So you were about 5 years in and things started to go bad, and then there was some cheating already in the beginning, so there was already starting off not on the greatest of foot. And then how quickly do you think things escalated? And did you ever have a feeling as they started to escalate, like I shouldn't stay in this, or was it like, let me just figure out how to make this work?
It was a little bit of both. I can say there was a time where I just had enough of the cheating and everything. And it became, the cheating was so crazy, is that it was a a triangulated type of relationship where I knew the person that was she was cheating on me with. I knew this person so well. I knew so much about this person because I had to. I had to.
Mhm.
But I knew so much about this person that this person knew my phone number, knew my address, everything. We knew everything. We knew mostly everything about each other that we shouldn't have.
Mhm.
And it, to the point where we were on first name basis with each other. And I was just so tired of being cheated on and everything and just being lied to. I had trouble with that. I was having real bad panic attacks. I was having headaches a lot because I was so stressed. And that fear that I carried a lot of fear, because I remember that sometimes whenever we would get into physical altercations, or if we're just getting ready to have an argument and I feel like there's a possible breakup that's getting ready to happen, I could feel these knots in my stomach, and I
Mhm.
could feel like my stomach turning, and then my heart would just start beating real fast. And then my therapist said that's what, when the anxiety starts to come in, because you know something's coming.
Mhm.
So when one particular time where we argued about a particular person that she kept, being in a relationship with, and she kept lying to me about it. And I'm not really a confrontational person. And but back then I was just so fed up that I needed to confront her because I demanded respect. I wanted respect. And I just wanted honesty, but she kept lying to me. So I had got in her face to ask her a question, and I should have known better because she was drinking, and I knew not to accuse her or bother her or nag her when she drinks, because that person will come out sometimes. So when that took place and everything, she slapped me. When she slapped me, and this was in front of one of her drinking buddies, that happened. He was so drunk he didn't realize what's going on. But when she slapped me, he just told her that wasn't okay, and he told her to leave. And then she just grabbed a hold of him real tight, and he was a Caucasian man, by the way. And she was holding him so tight and everything, and like choking him with his by his neck, that he started to turn red. So I had to tell her to get up off of him because I was afraid that, he would pass out. So eventually he told her to leave. So she left. So it was about 1 o'clock in the morning or so. And I'm basically a teenager at this point. I think I'm like 19, 20 years old.
Mhm.
And at the time I lived with my grandparents. So the buses, the local buses stopped running. So I was trying to figure out a way to get back home since it was so late. So what ended up happening was I was leaving out, and I made sure I waited a couple of minutes after she left just so I didn't run into her. So, however, I'm leaving and I'm walking down this dark alley, and I'm walking to the bus stop, and I'm like, okay, I'm almost there. I'm almost there, right? All of a sudden, I hear someone say my name.
Mhm.
And then I was so afraid to turn around, but I had to. And when I turned around, I saw her. When I saw her, I already knew what time it was. The fear that went through my body is nothing that I can ever explain. I felt my heart go like sink into my stomach. And my brain was telling me to run, but my feet wouldn't move because I was so paralyzed with fear. Once I saw that she started running towards me, I started running. But she caught up with me and she pulled my hair, And then that's when she just started hitting me in the face and everything. So I'm trying to block my face and everything. And I'm just trying to, make sure that she doesn't hit my face and everything. And she just grabbed me by my hair, and she grabbed me by my hair and she banged my head up against a parked car, the windshield of a car, and she kept banging my head into the ground. And I remember, and I wrote this in my book as well, but I remember when I fell on the ground from exhaustion. I remember I looked up at the stars and I was thinking to myself, this the stars are so beautiful. Like, it, is this the night that I'm gonna die? You
Mhm.
know? And I remember I got so tired of being beat on. And I remember that because I'm a Christian. So I remember that when she was beating on me and everything, and I think she must have been getting exhausted or something. And I remember I just heard this voice like on the inside and just say, I looked over and I saw it was a church. And I heard this voice inside say, crawl to me. And I assumed that was God. So I crawled. Now, mind you, as I'm crawling and everything, I'm crying. I'm not bloody or anything, but my head is hurting profusely because my head's been banged into the ground, and not to mention the windshield. And my hair's been pulled every which way. So I'm dizzy as I'm crawling to the church and everything. So I get up on the church grass, the church grass and everything. And I felt like God was protecting me. I really did feel that way. So
Mhm.
she came over and she followed me over to the church, and she didn't hit me anymore. I told her, I said, please, I held my hands when I just said, please don't hit me anymore. And she didn't. And it was as if she stood there and as if she was thinking about something. And the next thing I noticed, she hog spit on me. And when she hog spit on me, I felt like I was nothing.
Mhm.
I felt like she really doesn't have no kind of respect for me. And a person that hog spits on you, that means that they really don't like you. And when she did that, I felt so disgusting. I felt like I was nothing. And then she walked away. And I had to figure out how to get back home. And a man that I had flagged down, he was gracious enough to take me home without any, asking for any money or anything like that. And I went back home, but I did have a concussion that night, and I was afraid to go to sleep. But I was so tired and exhausted
Mhm.
that I didn't want to go to the emergency room because I didn't want people asking me questions. I was ashamed. You know what I'm saying? I
Mhm.
didn't want to. How do you tell somebody like, oh, I'm being abused by my girlfriend? First thing people will say, well, is beat her ass. First thing they'll say is that. But it's like, even though this is a woman, this is somebody that I love, and I've been taught that you don't fight the ones that you love, you protect them. So, but I was the one that was in need of the protection. So I really didn't understand like how I got in the situation or what to do. And the fact that, she, you know, put her hands on me in public and she had no fear of the consequences, that really scared me. It really scared me. And she did do that again for a second time before. So that really made me nervous that, okay, yeah, this is probably really dangerous. And this is a person that doesn't fear consequences. And that's very scary, because if they're not afraid of consequences, that means that they're willing to do anything to prove a point.
Mhm. Well, and they don't really feel like the consequences are for them anyway. They're beyond any of those things. And I, first of all, thank you for sharing that story, because I think, and especially, and you were so young in that, excuse me, in that story. I think that there's, sadly, there are people that can probably relate to having some, that kind of experience. And I will say, having been someone who had been strangled and had also been spit on, I
Yeah.
am going to 100% agree with you that
Mm.
I almost felt like being more degraded by
Yeah.
being spit on
Yeah.
than even being strangled or having anything else. There's something, so horrific, and that the feeling of nothing. I'm listening you talk about it, and I was picturing those moments when
Mhm,
I was spit on, and it was just I felt so awful about myself for
mhm,
being in that position, for
mhm,
allowing this person that I love to do this to me, for the fact that they did do it to me. Like all of those different emotions come up, and you try to
mhm.
process it like, what, how did this happen? How did this happen to me? And what am I going to do and all of that. And so I really I empathize, and I appreciate you sharing all of that story. So we're getting short on time, which I had a feeling that this was going to go by really fast because you've got a lot of
Mhm,
you've been through a lot. And again, I think it's really important for people that are listening and watching this
mhm.
right now to know that and be inspired. They don't have to continue down this path. You can create something different for yourself. So
Okay.
you have written a book about you overcoming all this. Can you share the title of your book and where they can get it and maybe a little snippet from it?
Yes, my book is called He Chose Me,
Mhm.
and that's my name. And this is simply volume one of my book. I'm going to create my book in trilogy type series because there's so much to unpack about my life that I want people to understand and understand it's just my journey along with abuse and trauma, and also my journey with God, because I think that's important. And I answer a lot of questions in here about why people stay. And it's very important. And if I can share, it's important to know that, um how can I say this? Okay, when somebody chokes you, and say for instance you're in a relationship with someone and they choke you, that's a very personal thing. It's very personal. It's almost as personal as someone stabbing you, because that contact is so direct and it's so close to you. It's very personal.
Mhm.
So actually when someone chokes you, that's a telltale sign that they're capable of doing of going further than that.
100%.
That's very scary. The fact that someone can wrap their hands around your throat and squeeze and hold. And sometimes people get so enraged that they forget to let go, or
Mhm.
they don't let go. They don't want to. And that's very personal. And I just have to say, because we're running out of time, that don't take those things lightly. If someone is showing you signs of jealousy, well, they don't want you around your friends, or they want to occupy all of your time to them, where you have no space for yourself, and also to do the things that you do to help you as a happy and whole person to have your own identity, then that's a problem. That's a sign of abuse as well. Someone calling you nonstop, just wanting to have all of your time, that's a
Mhm.
sign of abuse as well. That means that they want to control your day, being consumed with them. They're not comfortable with you having your own day. They're not comfortable with you having your own thoughts or being your own person.
Mhm.
Also, threatening like your animals or anything, or doing harm to animals just to frighten you. That's very sociopathic, actually. Watch how people treat other people, um, how they are, if they're courteous or empathetic to other people. That's another telltale sign. If you're dealing with somebody that can be abusive, if they're always just so hard on people, or if they're just rude to people and they just don't seem like they have a sense of compassion or self-awareness, that's something that you have to pay attention to and consider. And more
Mhm.
importantly, a telltale sign is someone is physically harming you, trying to keep you in the house, trying to restrain you, trying to not allow you to go places, things like that. That's a telltale sign of abuse as well.
Mhm.
Psychologically trying to control you as well and manipulating you. That's a telltale sign.
100%. Well, we are over time, so we have to say goodbye, but I'm going to just, can people find your book on Amazon?
Yes, you can find my book on Amazon. You can just type in He Chose Me and just hit the word books. It gives you a selection of the word books and it'll pop up. For some reason, it won't pop up if you just put He Chose Me, other books will pop up and not mine.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Sherelle. I really appreciate it. Thank you for your honesty and being so raw and vulnerable with all of us. We really appreciate it. Definitely go check out He Chose Me on Amazon. Go check out Sherelle's book. Give her some support. Make sure you give her a review on Amazon. Reviews always help. But thank you, everybody, for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you next week, and have a wonderful night. Bye, everybody.
Bye.